All right, greetings and welcome to Pop's Collection, where we dissect and reflect on a movie or TV show from a Pop's collection. I'm Ron Tweedy. Joining me is Pops, and today we're going to talk about our first impressions of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
First impressions, because of the time frame, first two episodes.
Yeah.
Yes, which was really good. My first impression was great. All right, so we're done with the show. Wow, that was fast, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, anyways, for the people that joined us during our live segment, I have to say that this show kind of reflects what we went through then and what we went through today a little bit. And I'll share that when we get to that point.
Okay.
Okay. But this show, highly anticipated because of COVID. Mm-hmm. This is really the second of phase 4, right?
Yeah, if we're talking actual phases, I don't know. I don't even think it's helpful to think about those things anymore. It's,
Well, phase 4 was supposed to start with Black Widow, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and we haven't got that yet.
No.
But we did get WandaVision, mm-hmm. And now we have Falcon, the Falcon, and the Winter Soldier.
Right.
So I tried to, get some information. So I put Falcon/Winter Soldier, and it didn't come up. So I was like, really? Come on. Mm-hmm. Anyways, this has been highly anticipated, and based on all of the trailers and teasers for it, it was like, oh, I can't wait to see that,
Yeah, me too.
And you were, I think, the first one that really got me hyped about it.
Right.
This is supposed to be a phase 4 in the MCU, and it takes place 6 months after, what do they call it in this one? The blip?
Yeah. They introduced that term with Spider-Man Far From Home.
Right. But it's used more frequently, I think, in this particular thing. I guess they probably said that also in WandaVision too.
Yeah, they did.
I would assume. But anyways, excuse me. We get our good characters, Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes.
Right.
And your mom particularly loved the first episode 1, New World Order.
Yep.
She thought that the best part of that was the development of the character's personal life.
Okay.
Well, yeah, Sam, because we get to see Sam's sister.
Right.
And we get to see the family business.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that is still a mystery to me, and maybe you can answer this for me. Okay. What does a superhero make per hour?
I don't know.
Okay, because, we had this scene in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
And it got me to thinking, really, how do they support themselves?
That's a really good question. It's I think it's different for each person, right? So I think you have people who are pretty well off. Think people like Bruce Wayne or Tony Stark, where they made their money through other means, and so the crime fighting or hero work is something that's done over and above their normal workaday stuff, right?
Like their hobby?
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, hobby, or I almost would passion, art.
Their passion,
right? Yeah, something like that. But there are other folks that are different. So, for instance, I always think of, on the other side of the spectrum, you have someone like Luke Cage, who specifically the name of the book was Hero for Hire. Like literally, he was going to do hero work, but he wants to get paid for it.
Like,
And
we got a little bit of that in the second season of Netflix, I
yes, yeah,
think, but not
yeah,
a lot.
yeah, and in those stories, the original stories from the 70s and the 80s, the hero for hire storyline, he would take up stuff where he didn't get he would make an arrangement to get paid, but for whatever reason, for altruistic reasons, he sometimes wouldn't collect payment and stuff like that. So but I actually kind of really respect that. I mean, he's doing a service for people and he should be compensated for it, right? That's my understanding. That's how I think of it. When it comes to like Avengers and things like that team, obviously a lot of it's bankrolled by Tony Stark and his resources, right? So, if you're living on the compound, you're not really paying for it, and obviously all the other stuff that comes along with that. So, I mean, you have that, or if you're, employed by Shield, it's the same thing. It's you get paid that way, but you know,
Or the military.
right. Exactly. There's lots of employers that would be interested in using hero work, but and then you have freelancers as well. So
Right. Which, do we claim Sam Wilson as a freelancer now? Would
well,
you claim him as that?
he said that he was at the in the second episode. He said that when he was talking with the U.S. agent or whatever his name is in this the quote unquote new Captain America.
Right, as
John
he is
Walker.
called now.
Yeah, John Walker.
Yeah, John Walker. So we should kind of quickly go through the unfolding of episode 1.
Okay.
New World Order.
Right.
Like I said, 6 months after the blip,
Mm-hmm.
Caps has given the shield to Sam.
Right.
Bucky has been absolved of his criminal activity, but he has to go to a shrink now.
Right.
And he also has to try to live a regular life,
Yeah, it reminds me of kind of like a 12-step program, like he's going through.
Yes, and I think what we get in the first episode, Sam dealing with coming back and seeing that his sister for 5 years now has had to deal with the family business.
Right.
And he was nowhere around to be any part of that. Bucky also coming back from the blip,
Right.
having to go through this with a psychiatrist, and the 7 steps. We get these little things like, what was the first step again? What was the second step? Don't kill anybody, and we see that he's getting flashbacks still, I think, from his Hydra assassin days.
Yeah.
Or after the fact, where he was still somehow influenced, and we see him with an old man.
Yep.
Befriending an old man. And I think that has to do with a little guilt that he's going through, that he's dealing with. And
the old man's son is one of the people that he's assassinated.
yes. And so he is somehow trying to make amends, but hey, how do you tell somebody that you're trying to be a friend with that, hey, I killed your son, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I wasn't in my right mind. And secondly, we see him struggling with trying to have a relationship. He's how old now?
107, right? Or something like that.
Yes. And, so nobody can really, who can he really relate to? It makes it different. We see he struggled with that. We see Sam going back to, where were they? New Orleans?
Yeah.
And saying that he wants to be part of the business.
Mm-hmm.
He's decided that he doesn't want the shield. He thinks he's doing what's best by giving the shield to the Captain America Museum. I'm guessing that's what it is.
Yeah.
And Bucky sees that. He doesn't think that's right. So we're starting to get a little what's going to come to pass between Sam and Bucky, I think.
Sure.
We're getting a start with that. And we also see for the first time that there's a bad guy group out there now, and they called the Flag Smashers, I think.
Right.
We kind of get a little bit of that in the beginning as he's doing the hero for hire, I'm going to call it for now, his mission that he goes on to save this guy. And what did you think of the special effects in that? I mean, did you feel like, I felt it was almost like movie quality.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, obviously they brought back George St. Pierre to play Batroc.
Yes.
The Leaper. So that was a really good nod back to the Lumerian Star mission of Winter Soldier, which, I think is some of the best the MCU has to offer. And so I mean, obviously that was really good. Fantastic.
Yes, and I think the money is well spent on it. And if I understand correctly, it's going to be the same director for all 6 episodes.
Okay.
That's what I heard. I haven't quite read that. So far, the first 2 episodes have been directed by the same person. So we'll see how that turns out. But I really liked the first episode. I thought that it had a nice ending part, because that's when we find out there's a new Captain America.
Right.
At the end of the first episode.
Yeah.
Which we get more into that in episode 2, the Star Spangled Man.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the comics, isn't his, like you said, his name is U.S. Agent?
Well, eventually becomes that. So what happens is, I think in the late 70s or early 80s, sometime around that time period, Captain America becomes disillusioned with America, and he decides to renounce his, title, and he becomes Nomad. Then, obviously they still want to carry on a Captain America. So John Walker is the one who gets kind of thrown into that. And then once Captain America comes back, and he still wants to be a hero, and so he becomes U.S. Agent. He works with West Coast Avengers. He had a limited run series in the 80s, like a 4-issue miniseries.
Okay, but he's not a super soldier, right?
No, he's just a really good soldier.
Okay, that's I kind of speculated on that, but I thought that, okay, we'll see how this is going to work out, because they show him flinging the shield and catching it, and he's kind of doing it almost like Cap,
Yeah. And I after the first episode premieres, the internet kind of blows up with how much they don't like him already. And it's like, I kind of felt bad for him. It's like, anybody who's going to get, put in that position where they're asked to, be the next Captain America, of course, everybody's going to not be okay with it. And so, I think it's a difficult position to be in no matter what.
Right. As an actor and as a character.
Well, I think more the character than anything else. I mean, the actor, he's fine. And, they really do, I think, portray him in a way more sympathetic light in the beginning of the second episode.
Right. We see changes though. No. And you see how his chin is like squared off. He's like got that real, like I don't know. He kind of almost looks like the comic book one. He looks similar.
Sure.
But that we now see that Bucky's really, really upset about that. And Sam's upset that he can't get the loan, so he's like going off to do another job, and they're following the Flag Smashers. If I'm not, there's another character that we met in the first episode.
Right.
Esposito was his name. I can't remember what his name was,
No, I don't.
but he was kind of like Sam's go-through guy.
Mhm.
And he was investigating the Flag Smasher thing.
Right.
And we saw the Flag Smasher guy pick up a vehicle and throw it against a building or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, okay, now we got to get into that. So we get a little bit more into that in episode 2.
Right.
And they find some of them. And I think at this time, they don't know who they really are, just that they're called Flag Smashers. And so we're going to get a little bit of, slight bit of origin with them. And we also learn about the big 3.
Yeah.
Aliens, androids, or wizards.
Right.
And Bucky swears there's no such thing as wizards.
Right.
As I recall.
Yeah.
So we get a little bit into that. And we also find out, we get some more excellent special effects.
Mm-hmm.
The semi-truck fight was really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and Good Morning America was a little, in the beginning, that was a little off the wall, but we meet his friend who's going to help him now. Let's see, what was his name?
Hoskins.
Oh, Lamar Hoskins, yes. Later, we find out he's known as Battlestar. Now, was that in the comics, Battlestar? Do you remember that or no?
Probably. I didn't read enough into it.
No, but I guess so. Bucky is way more than pissed off now because the Captain America is trying to get them to work together.
Right.
You know, and we learn that Captain America is also knows about the big 3, but Bucky still, once he hears, I guess, the Hoskins name, Battlestar, he's like, okay, that's it. Stop the vehicle. I don't want to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And he shares with Sam about they need to go meet somebody else.
Right.
Which we find out later is he's in the I don't know, what do you call it? The slum area of town, the poor section of town.
In Baltimore.
Yeah. Okay. And we meet a gentleman named Isaiah.
Right.
Who actually, Isaiah Bradley,
yep,
is another super soldier.
Yes.
And I found in the comics, he lives with his son, Eli.
Mm-hmm.
And in the comics, Eli's Bradley is one of the versions of Patriot, which is a character that they used in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a few seasons.
Oh, okay.
They had a character called the Patriot, which was, he would take a serum that they had, like the super serum, and it would only work for like an hour or so. And so he wasn't super all the time, you know?
Okay.
So we meet him and we see that he's been a guy that after the war, he was sent in to get Bucky when Bucky was assassin for Hydra.
Right.
So you kind of almost wonder why Bucky wanted to go see this guy, you know, and then you find out that he was imprisoned for 30 years when he came back, and they experimented on him.
Right.
Until who knows how long, but he's a very bitter character. Mm-hmm. I don't know what more we'll see of him. and if it was just Bucky trying to show Sam that something else is going on with all the super serum.
No, well, he's asking Isaiah for help specifically because he realizes that the leaders of the Flag Smashers, or at least a contingent of them, are super soldiers. And so,
Eight
yeah,
of
so
them.
well, 7 now, but
Yes.
the reality is that he needs help, and he needs help from other people that are just as powerful, and that's why he goes to Isaiah. And obviously, Sam has a very angry reaction to realize that there in history there was another super soldier, Captain America, who was black, and that was completely hidden from everybody. And obviously, this is a character that does exist in the comics. In 2003, there was a comic line called Truth, Red, White, and Black, and that's where Isaiah Bradley comes from.
Right. So he is part of the comic series, but not necessarily. He's written into this story. He wasn't necessarily part of a Falcon Winter Soldier comic series.
Well, they're up until 2020. I think there wasn't a Falcon and Winter Soldier comic. So
okay, but I mean, they were individuals. There was a Falcon comic, right?
There was multiple Falcon comics, and in fact, in the 70s and 80s, it was Captain America and the Falcon. That was a comic series for a long time. And the Winter Soldier doesn't come over until 2000. We talked about the origin of Winter Soldier.
Right.
Back when we did it, so I won't rehash anything old there.
Right. If you want to hear our podcast for the Winter Soldier episode.
So, but the I don't know. The more I read into Captain America stuff, like the more confused I get, because they did a lot of weird things with him. In the comics, like they've killed him off. Obviously, they have made him become an agent of Hydra. They have done some really wacky stuff with the Cosmic Cube, and so it's just I don't know. To me, it's a little. It's too crazy for me a little bit.
Well, and we do know that there's always rewrites with characters. We know now that there's been more than one Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And we know now we have a middle schooler that's the current Spider-Man, Miles Morales.
Yeah.
So we've gone from high school, now we're getting younger. And of course, with the multiverse, we've seen older Spider-Man. So I guess it's all right. I guess unless you're a connoisseur of Captain America or a purist, I guess you would say that, certain ways, if it's not handled, I could see where people would get like, well, there's no way you should go in that direction. That's just totally wrong,
Well, I think there's a difference, because like the wackiness that has been with Captain America is only a recent development, right? I mean, where he becomes Hydra and Bad Cap and all this other stuff. That stuff, is within the last 10 or so years. Up until then, it's been pretty consistent. It's just now where it's gotten really wacky. So
well, I think that a lot of the recent comic book stories, I think that they have gotten just way off the mark. I understand they're going to be doing another Captain America.
Yeah, I don't. Let's just say that both DC and Marvel, they're not what they used to be, and it's really a shame. And quite frankly, if you want good sequential art nowadays, you follow the individual artists and you see what they're doing independently, and that's where you're going to get the good stuff.
Right, and I would agree that also that the artwork that some of the stories that come out and the comics and cartoons, I'm going to say like Adventure Time, Uncle Grandpa, there's like all these shows, Steven Universe, where the animation is just I don't know. It just doesn't seem to me to take any um, artistic abilities to make those. I think I could probably draw those cartoons
Mhm.
myself, and I understand that there's ones like Peanuts and, things that were in the Sunday paper that were just comic strips that they did. But now we get whole TV shows that are trying to do this with what I consider inferior artwork, you know? But there again, too, we also are getting some pretty inferior stories, I think. Like you say, going in a strange direction.
Yeah. But anyway, so let's just
Yes, I'm sorry. Let's get off the track. I'm sorry.
yeah. So okay.
All right. So this kind of, I guess, Sam is really angry,
Yeah.
and Bucky says that Captain America didn't even know about it.
Right.
And they're getting into an argument outside. The police come
Right.
and they are going to arrest Sam at first till they find out that, oh, he's the Falcon. Oh, no, he's the good guy. Can I take a picture with you? Can I get your autograph? And then they like tell Bucky, hey, you sorry you're under arrest for
Right.
missing your appointment.
Right.
And he goes, without putting up any fuss or anything.
Right.
And I thought, okay, where is this going to go? What's this going to do? But I think what happened is that we do get this opportunity at that point to see the psychiatrist wants Sam to come in with him,
Right.
and she wants them to do things together and, bounce things off. And then we get this thing of Captain America getting them off the hook, saying that he's going to need him again.
Right.
And this is where we get, I think, a little bit of, now there's going to start being some flack between them, because Bucky and Sam say, nope, we're not going to work with you. And then he's like, well, don't get in my way.
Yep.
Almost like a threat,
Sure.
And then we're almost at the end of the episode there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because now we get Bucky saying, we got to go see somebody else. And this is where because this person, he says, knows about Hydra and the super soldiers. So we get that they're going to go see Zemo now.
Right.
So that's kind of where the episode ends.
Yes.
So anything that you thought might be important to bring up?
Lots of things. Yeah, because like I really don't care too much about rehashing the entire story, because like to me, I think thematic elements are more important to talk about. So I definitely want to talk about the Flag Smashers. I mean, the reality is that you have these two worldviews that are at odds with each other. You have the Flag Smashers who, during the blip, feel like the world was better, and so they want to go back to that. And so what that means is that they want a decent, they want a one. They don't want nations. They're against nations. That's wrong, and people should just be united as one.
One world, one people.
Right. Which, in my opinion, that is very bad. Nations are a good thing in that.
Well, if we did not have structure, it would be chaos. And what's good for one person in one area is not necessarily good for somebody in another area.
Exactly. So that's my point, is that like, you can't just have a top-down organization dictate everything for every person, because people are different. Peoples are different. So that's I think one of the
Right.
big things
Well,
here.
from living in, we live in the United States. We have a federal government, but we also have individual state governments
Yeah.
that, even though we all are under one set of laws, we do each have separate laws that comply with our states. Some of them may have to do with, car emissions. Some states don't, like in California, they have to have different types of emissions for their vehicles out there because of all of the pollution out there, and which might be totally different from people in Montana, you
Yeah.
know? And the same thing, they would, have to have certain laws about snow and stuff up north, which would not apply to people down in Florida,
Yeah.
so, and other things other than that. But
Yeah.
yes, I agree. That is not the right thing. I think what they tried to point out was that when after the blip, that some of the bad people that were in power came back from the blip, and that's where they thought that it went bad. I think that they were back in power as if they never left. Does that sound right to you?
I don't even think we're even that far. But the point is that they want things back to the way they were, before, where it wasn't like, nations were around. They just wanted one centralized thing. So that's what the idea behind it is.
Right. Well, I think we agree on that, that's not a good thing.
No, no, obviously, I think, you have to, anybody trying to impose something centralized top down is, I think, evil, and that should be opposed.
Right. So they are the bad guys,
Yeah.
but I don't know if they're the main bad guy.
Okay.
I guess we'll find out that, but
Yeah.
as I recall, the leader's a woman,
Hmm.
and she was getting a text from somebody that says, "You took something that's mine." And she got a little frightened about that. So there might be even a bigger baddie in
Sure.
this. I don't know, but we've got another 4 episodes to find out.
Right.
Okay. Next thing on your mind?
Well, I mean, obviously, we should acknowledge that there are some overtones that deal with race and discrimination. So obviously, you have the issue in the first episode where Sam and his sister are having a problem getting a loan, and there are some racial overtones, I think, on that. And then also Sam and Bucky being stopped by the police and them automatically assuming that Sam is the threat, which, in the when they finally actually do their job, it's actually the other way around. Bucky was the one who was in trouble.
Yes, that's true. And we also got this overtone with a young boy saying to him, "Oh, you're the Black Falcon?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "No, I'm the Falcon." He says, "What are you the black kid?"
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
which is, I think that we put too much emphasis on some of that stuff. I mean, it's all real, but I think that we need to start treating each other, as humans. God so loved the world that he sent his only son to die for all of us. It didn't say that he was just dying for this group or dying for the Jews or dying for this. It was for everyone, right? So that we could all be saved, right? Wouldn't you say that? I mean,
I would not say that in that way. I do believe that God died for particular people, for his people, but I would say at the end when you see the marriage supper with the Lamb, that all tribes, tongues, and nations are represented there. So he died for all kinds of people. That's
right. Well, all right. Let's clarify that. He died for those that he knows are his.
right. Right. But
Okay.
that includes people from all tribes,
Everybody.
tongues, and
Right.
nations.
Yes. Yes. That's kind of what I'm saying. I
Okay.
guess being Pops, I'm not saying it the way I should, but
No, well,
thank you for clarifying that.
I'm just kind of, that's just typical. Anyway, but my
Yeah.
point, the point being, well, the thing is that, like, I will say that, um, being mistreated by the authorities does happen. It does happen to, um, you know, all kinds of people. It's not just uh,
Right.
it sometimes can be, it sometimes takes that form of racism, but it also can happen for other bunch of other reasons too. It could be the way you're dressed, it could be you being in a different environment, so like if you and I were walking down the streets of, say, Shanghai, we might get profiled as well because we don't look the same as, the people that are normally there. So it's not like this is a uh people, it's not like you have to have like this special experiential knowledge in order to experience, discrimination. It does happen to, it can happen to anyone, is my point. And when it does happen, we should uh not be good with it, right? We should try,
No.
right? But my point being is that it's always bad. So
Right. And we should work towards, eliminating it no matter what, but we shouldn't go overboard in one area because, like you said, a lot of people get discriminated against. A lot of people get abused and, have issues.
right.
Uh,
And it's not okay because, not because of uh a incidental characteristic of them. It's not okay because they are image bearers of God, right? that
yes,
that's the primary reason why that is a bad thing. It's not because, you know uh, that's the primary thing. And if you don't have that worldview where you don't recognize that human beings are created in the image of God, then you really don't have a foundation to say that this discrimination is wrong. You're just being inconsistent. It's just your opinion. It doesn't really matter. But because we hold to a doctrine of man that says that men are created in the image of God, and they are, therefore they inherently have value, not because of what they look like, but just because of who they are, that we can say that when you mistreat somebody, you're mistreating the image of God.
correct. Um, yes, I kind of, as fathers, we're to portray the image of the Heavenly Father to our children. We should try to portray uh, God's love, Jesus's love, to people that we meet all the time, to be a light that shines, not somebody to tear somebody down, right? And we should, that should, no matter who it is, we shouldn't be happy with that. We shouldn't be right with that or okay with that.
Right.
Uh, Even if it has to do, let's say, with uh, your beliefs, your political beliefs, or doesn't mean that we should treat a person that doesn't believe like us uh, any differently. You
Yeah.
know, if our guy doesn't get into office, it does say that we should pray for our leadership, and be submissive to our leadership. So we should also
But not
be
without
some.
qualifications. There are qualifications to that.
Right, exactly. But that's what I'm trying. Never mind. It's all good. What I'm saying is that it's important that we try to remember who we are and make sure that we are reflecting the right image in our minds and in our hearts and in our ways. Right? That's the way I feel. And we should be, try our best to show God's love
Hmm.
no matter what. Sometimes not easy, but we still got to do it, right?
Yeah.
Give your enemy food, give them a drink, something like that. Okay.
Right.
Next on your thoughts?
That's it. I think we've definitely spoke enough about it.
We
I- I-
did. We did. I think we did, actually.
okay.
So I am going to say, as a first impression,
Hmm.
I'm going to encourage our listeners to definitely give it a watch.
Agreed.
I think that you'll be pleasantly surprised and give you a lot of food for thought. And if you disagree with us about something, we would love to hear from you. So let us know.
Okay.
All right. I'm good.
All right. Good. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. We will reconvene next week. We'll talk to you then. So until then, goodbye and God bless.
Goodbye. God bless. And tell your friends.